So today we're going to celebrate the flower communion, and I want to tell the story about its creation because it's a very powerful story. It began with Norbert Chapek, who was a Baptist minister in Prague, and he felt a movement of his spirit. He didn't quite find the same comfort and the same guidance in his traditional faith of baptism, and he was a seeker. And as part of that, he and his wife Maja traveled to the United States, where in New Jersey they found the answer. First and last time that has ever happened. I like how I'm being heckled by people from New Jersey. It just completes the moment. In New Jersey, he found Unitarianism, and he found a community and a way to live by that seemed true for him. And so when he traveled back to Prague, he founded the first Unitarian church in Prague. And people came hungry for his message. And then a couple years go by, and not everything was as smooth as at first they hoped it would be within their community. See, they had all come from different faith backgrounds, like so many of us have. And they had particular disputes about the communion service and theology and what each symbol meant. And they began to have their hearts hardened to one another. And Norbert loved his people. And so he did what people do, what I know I do, and I think you do when they're troubled. He went for a walk in nature. And particularly, he went up in the hills above Prague, and he walked along, and he thought about the divisions in his community. And he thought to himself, no matter what we believe, or the homes that we come from, or all that we carry with us, the thing that we know is true is that we all love this land. We all love the Czech countryside, the flowers, the grasses, the air, the birds. And so he had an idea, and he recruited a key set of leaders to help him, all the children in his congregation. And he did something that only true leaders, and they did something only true leaders will do, which is they woke up extra early on a Sunday morning. And he sent the children out into those mountaintops, and they gathered wildflowers. And as the people came to their church that Sunday, the children handed each one of them a flower, a gift placed in their hands. And then together, as we will soon, they practiced the flower communion. I want to add before we do that you might just think this is a beautiful story, but it really captured the way Norbert lived. He believed in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and he believed in communities coming together to stand up for that and affirm that. And so when the Nazis rolled into Prague, he stayed to continue that message. And for that message, he was arrested and ended up dying in Dachau. So we remember today that the messages of staying for one another, of showing up for one another, of affirming the inherent worth of one another, is a message that the Reich and others who demean human life will find so threatening and so undermining. And so we too remember the great power that we all see in the message of respecting human life. So I'm gonna ask you first to contemplate the flower in your hands. If you don't have a flower, can you raise your hand? We want everyone to be able to participate. Wonderful. So they're gonna come along. If you have an extra near you, in your hand, maybe hand it to one of their neighbors raising your hands. Keep them raised high so the ushers and people could come. right, the sunflowers are ready. Raise your hand high. There's some all around. Up here, Tom, yep. Thank you. Anyone else need flowers? Oh. Right here too. All right. We did a good job sharing our blessings. Anyone else? All right. So I'm going to invite you to look at the flower in your hand and notice its uniqueness. The length of its stem, its color, if it has a smell. And I want you to appreciate its beauty. How after the winter, ice, and snow, life in its greatest beauty bursts forth. And I want you to recognize that just as the flower has gifts to brighten your day, has resiliency and beauty and life, so do you. You bring your beauty and gifts into the world just as much as this flower. And so with that intention of recognizing your own gifts and your spirit of generosity, I'm going to invite you to come forward and to slip your flower through. And it's helpful not to have too many leaves on its stem. So think about that. And so peel some of those off, and you're going to slip it through. And I'm going to invite, what we're going to do is we're going to come down the center aisle, and then we're going to go this way, up the sides. So we have our flow, okay? Don't be a salmon swimming against the flow. All right. And I'm going to invite our children to come first, and those people who might need a little extra time to navigate, and then the adults. Come forward, sweetheart. You can slip it right through wherever you wish. So wonderful. All right. Go back to your parents. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, Ben. You can slip it right through, sweetheart. Hi, sweetie. Amen. So wonderful, the number of cell phones that appear. No, I mean, I think this is actually wonderful to share. Sharing a picture of our flower communion bouquet is a way to share of the beauty of our faith. So please share. And of course, we could see, as beautiful as we are individually, as beautiful and as lovely as our individual gifts are, it's so much more beautiful to be together, to add our gifts, the contrast in who we are mirrors the contrast in these flowers, which helps our own colors pop even more. So I'll invite you to think about that as I share our message today. When you read the Gospels, the things that you know, you could begin to hear about places. Desert, gardens, lakes, rivers, mountaintops, wheat fields, and olive groves. Jesus would frequently go out into places of nature. And it's interesting because most of the people who followed him in particular lived in towns or villages or cities, but he was always doing ministry out in the countryside. After he was baptized in the River Jordan, he went for a period of time to discover himself in his ministry in the desert, where it said he lived with the wild animals. Later, he would preach and share messages and perform healings, often by a mountain or by the Sea of Galilee. When he was distraught, in particular, or just trying to find the way forward, it's written in the first chapter of Mark that he would go in the still dark hours of the day and go out to a desolate place, by which it meant not that the landscape was necessarily desolate, but that it was away from the people, and it was there that he would pray. When he knew his friends would betray him, he went to Gethsemane. Thank you. Gethsemane. Thank you, Gethsemane, where there were olive trees, and there he would pray. You might know the Wendell Berry poem, "When Despair for the World Grows in Me. I go and seek peace where the wild things are." Seek that peace of wild things. I do that too. I know some of you do. When you're feeling distressed or a little low or just needing a friend, how you could go and walk in the woods or commune among the flowers or notice the soaring wings of a bird. And somehow your soul and your spirit is a little bit more restored that day. And Jesus modeled that in his life. But he didn't just do that. He also used examples from our earth, from its creatures, to teach lessons. The lilies of the valley, the mustard seeds, the fish, the birds. And his message always seemed to say, you might not think there's a way, but if you follow the example of the abundance of the earth, the abundance that sometimes goes through periods of drought but ends in fullness, it's a great way to live in an interconnected way where nature finds its way forward. And so he used the earth to show that no matter if there's a prophet there or not, the earth can teach us. And that is a message that we're going to be exploring the next couple of weeks as we move through our Entwined with Our Earth theme. And finally, Jesus walked gently on this earth. He knew its importance. He savored it. He learned from it. And so he taught in his ways to be with it and to connect with it. And this Easter, we recognize that our own sense of spiritual wellness, our sense of coming alive, accompanies that of our earth. Amen. Now we're going to partake of our flower communion. And I'm going to, in a moment, invite you to come up and choose a different flower than the one you came in with. And I want you, as you take your flower, to choose one that really pulls you in. There's something about its shape or its color that really speaks to you this morning. And then, do we hold flowers like this? Some of us might. But we hold it with like some gentle care, right? We don't want to crush either the petals or the stem. And I invite you to look at it and notice its beauty just as you noticed the beauty of the flower that you contributed. And I invite you, as you do that, to think about how that flower represents someone else in our community. You don't necessarily know who. You probably don't. And therefore, I want you to remember to treat everyone in our community with that same level of care that you use in holding that flower, with tenderness, with appreciation. So it's going to be the same fashion. You're going to come forward this way and circle around, and I'm going to invite our children to come up first, and then those adults needing more time. This one's nice for you? Okay, here you go. Oh, perfect. Okay. Which one would you